Azucena was pretty underwhelming at the end of Season 1, but now she's getting massive buffs. So let's look at what's new and how it affects Azucena. Let's take a look at her new moves first. Forward 3-4 is a different follow-up to her forward 3-2 string, which is a high damage mid-high. Now she also has a mid follow-up, I guess. It is also a natural combo, and the second hit is actually a counter hit launcher. And minus 11 on block, which isn't too bad. But I don't think she needs this move because forward 2-3 was hit confirmable. But now I guess people will duck it less, and you won't get punished as often if you just let the high rip. So it indirectly buffs forward 3-2, but as a move itself, I don't think it's too useful, and I don't think you should be actively using it. Next up we have a full crouch low in full crouch on forward 4. Big damage, +5 on hit in Liberator stance. The stance is much better now, and I'll talk about the stance in a bit, but the low is minus 15 on block, so most characters can launch it. On counter hit, you can get guaranteed ground hit for 45 damage, which is really nice. Now, this move isn't bad, but I am confused as to why they gave her this move, because she already has one of the best full crouch lows in the game, with full crouch on forward 3, which I still recommend using instead. It deals slightly less damage, but it actually has better payoff on counter hit, giving you the crouch grab and heat, 55 damage. And it is +3 on hit and leaves both players in crouch, which means while standing 1. A safe mid counter hit launcher is uninterruptible, and once they respect it, you can just keep looping full crouch on forward 3s while also threatening with the counter hit mid frame trap. And the low is only minus 13. So it may be slightly worse on hit, but it has so many upsides that I wouldn't risk getting launched for using this new low, honestly. I guess you can use it against characters that can't launch it, like Steve. But yeah, not a bad move, but she kind of already has a better version, in my opinion. Next up is a high damage mid from Liberator stance, Liberator down 3. It looks super weird, and it's called the Pedalada Tron, a very fitting name in my opinion. Now, I'm not sure why the mid is down 3 and the low is just 3. I feel like the inputs should be the other way around, but it is a great move. It's not super quick, but it does high crush, wall splat, and is +2 on block, dealing chip damage. And on counter hit, a full launch for massive damage. It also recovers in crouch, which is nice for Azucena because of how good her while standing 1 is, and her full crouch down for 3. A great addition to Liberator stance. The stance received more buffs in general. For one, you can now heat burst from stance, which applies to most character stances, I believe. You can now also use jumping input moves from Liberator. Notably, up forward 4 is really nice as a high payoff safe mid option for mix-ups. You can also use the old forward 3 +4 from stance now, because the notation has been changed to up forward 3 +4, which is great because that makes it faster and easier to use because it doesn't require a dash. Although you are no longer getting a free ground hit, but I think it's still a buff. Liberator down 3 +4 went from -9 to +4 on block. Now, I'm not a fan of this direction of activating heat and then being able to throw out quick evasive plus on block launchers, but I guess that's where we're at, and that's a big buff for Azucena. You can now also enter the stance of while running 3-2 by holding forward, and this will put you at +5 as opposed to the +2 if you don't go into stance, which is significant, and now the stance has better options, so it's great. And just having the option of going to stance and frame trap with mids means your opponent will have to respect you more, which in itself is a big buff too by running 3-2, because at +2 the situation wasn't that scary But now, because you can go into Liberator stance and be +5, it is. You can now also go into stance after while standing 4-1 by holding forward. This changes the frame advantage from +6 to +8. Now, this isn't that big of a deal because +6 was kind of plenty to, keep your opponent from attacking. But now we do have more options from Liberator stance and your opponent has to fear those, so it's a nice buff. It's also now not too bad if you do it on block, because then you're neutral in stance, and if they jab, you will evade it. But yeah, the second hit is still a high, can be ducked and launched. So keep that in mind. So her stance received some nice buffs, but the biggest buff, and maybe the biggest winner of Season 2 in general, may be down 1. Down 1 was a pretty good move before. It used to be -2 on block, but now it's +4 on block. Also, it puts you into crouch, which is why it was pretty good even at -2, because you could still threaten with while standing 1 and keep them from using like slower moves. You could still do while standing 4 to contest minor frame disadvantage, to keep them honest. But now at +4, it's no contest. It's just you do while standing 1 and they can't do shit. It's a straight up frame trap and you can't backdash out of it. You can't stab it. It will track. So it's unbeatable. It's cheap as fuck. And of course a counter hit launcher. So it puts you into this position where they just can't attack. And if they can't attack, you can start mixing them up because you are still in full crouch, and her full crouch game is amazing with full crouch down forward 3, still threatening the while standing 1, and even on hit, once again, +3, still a frame trap. So this puts her into this amazing position, and you can just keep doing, you can just keep up your offense with 2 moves basically, and also it's still a counter hit launcher for massive damage. So with this move, you always win. It's godlike. You either kill straight away on counter hit, or you set up your offense. I think this will completely define how Azucena is played because of how strong this is. 20 frames is just not that slow. You will hit plenty of counter hits, and even on block, again, you're always winning. Now the biggest nerf is forward 1+2 no longer being a heat engager. This was announced and this happened to most characters. Most Power Crush heat engagers are no longer heat engagers. So it's quite a big nerf, but it happened to many characters. And honestly, the high Power Crushes did not suffer as much as the mid Power Crushes, because the mid Power Crushes are unsafe and you can't heat dash, cancel them into safety. So this one is still really good. We will be fine. Losing a heat engager means she has to get another one, and what she got is 3-3. The second hit is now a heat engager. This also means that she can heat engage as her 40 frame Punisher, which is nice. On heat dash, this is only one hit follow-up, not a full combo. Still decent damage. Now, I don't like the mid-high natural combo heat engagers because, like, she already has this one, and you can duck the second hit. Now you also have this one, and you can duck the second hit as well. So she doesn't really have like good moves that you would want to heat dash cancel. I guess you just always have to do your heat smash and not heat dash. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Like, make the mid heat dash cancelable. I guess having it as a Punisher isn't bad. And a couple of more like smaller buffs are back turn 1 now being +2 on block. It used to be neutral. This is kind of cute, but I don't think it changes much. And back turn 1-2 is now only -1. Used to be slightly more negative. This is kind of nice. Her crouch grab is now +5 damage. This is downscaled, but it deals 35 now. And 3-2, the string, 4 more damage total, which is nice for free. The second hit now always knocks down like that, so you will always get a follow-up, not only on counter hit. This means that if the first hit of 4 free counter hits, you'll get this whole combo, which is nice. So she kind of gets a magic 4, I guess. And also it's more like it's scarier to duck the second hit of 4-1. If that's something that you like to use, you have to cover it with this one, and this will always give you the follow-up, which is nice. Back 3 was also changed as well. The properties on block and the speed. It used to be 22 frames, now it's 19 frames, so it's 3 frames faster. But it used to be +4 and now it's +2. Now this looks good, but I don't think it's useful because it doesn't like do anything on counter hit. The speed doesn't really matter, like 22 or 19 frames. Both is pretty slow. It's a speed that basically means your opponent is not going to attack. That's the only time when you can use this move. Like the being 19 frames still means your opponent is going to counter hit you if they try to counter hit you. Doesn't really matter. So it's a move that you only want to use if your opponent is blocking for sure. But the block frames have now been reduced to +2 and your opponent is going to crouch. This means if you down forward 1 and they while standing 4, it will trade, and that's not a good trade. So +2 with your opponent crouching is just not very useful. And 19 frames, like it would be a decent move, but down 1 exists and you're just going to use this one instead. So yeah, it's like not super bad. I think this change was supposed to be a buff, but because of how good down 1 is, I think this is actually a nerf. But yeah, not a big deal because down 1. Now back 1-1 also received a couple of changes. The whole string back 1-1-2 is now a counter hit string. The whole thing is guaranteed on counter hit. So that's 46 damage, which isn't bad for a 14 frame move, but it's all highs. Now, what also changed is that the first 2 hits are no longer natural or normal hit. Now, I'm pretty sure they used to be natural, but it's not in the patch notes. And I'm also pretty sure that it used to be +3, I think, but now it's -8, but it also jails. So it used to be duckable, the second hit, but now you are forced to block the second hit, which is usually a very good thing. But in this case, because it is no longer +3 and -8, you're basically fucked because you're in stance. You can't block in Liberator stance, so if they just do something like a down 4-2, they will kill you. So it jails, and then you're launch punishable basically. So what's the point of jailing then? Now yes, there is the third hit, but it can be ducked and launched. And yes, there is also Liberator 3+4 that could technically beat like down 4-2, but it's the same issue as doing the third hit, and that can be ducked and launched. So it's not really like a mix-up. It's either they finish doing the string or do Liberator Power Crush High. Both options duckable, launchable, or you're not going for the last hit, just stand there like an idiot trying to get out of stance, but that's when they can just down forward to you. So you're basically fucked both ways if they get the 50-50 and you're getting launched, and you're not really getting anything because it's not a natural combo anymore. So you have to like commit to the whole thing, assume it's a counter hit to even make any use of this. But should it not be a counter hit, then you're stuck in a really, really bad situation. And that's pretty fucking bad. So do not use this move. It's terrible now because the block frames have been changed from +3 to -8 and you're still in stance, completely vulnerable. I feel like they messed up with this one. I'm not sure like what they are trying to do. I think this was once again supposed to be a buff, but they kind of messed up with the frames because this like it's even more unsafe now than it used to be because you could duck the second hit, but at least in case they didn't duck, you were at +3. But now you're at -8 in Liberator, completely vulnerable. Yeah, shit move, but I mean, it was a shit move before, and now it's an even bigger turret. So just don't use it and you'll be fine. Up forward 2 has also been changed. It now gives +14 on hit and on counter hit. So hit and counter hit is now the same. It used to be a counter hit launcher and just a knockdown on normal hit. You could see it as a buff, you could see it as a nerf. If you're in heat, you can also heat dash for the free follow-up. And it's also one of the new tailspin moves, but I don't think it's very useful. It's kind of slow, so it has to be like a high launcher. And then even if you hit it, look at how far your opponent is from you. Like, it's really hard to follow up. It's really hard to hit it. It's really hard to follow up. At the end of the combo, if you do this, you're not going to be able to connect further hits. So I don't think it's very useful. Now, the other tailspin moves are down 4-1-2. This leaves them pretty close, but it starts with a pretty low damage attack with down 4. So I don't think it's going to make it into high damage combos, but you know, I might be wrong. Now the third tailspin move that she received is one that's actually really useful, and that's Liberator 3+4. So what you can now do is down to 3 into Liberator 3+4 after like one filler hit, and this is the first day of the patch, and I can already do 4 more damage compared to her last staple by doing the new tailspin. Now these are going to be day 1 combos, but you can already tell it's going to improve her combo damage. So I've been messing around a bit, and already you can see higher damage combos compared to her old staples. You do the tailspin, and then you have to do a small dash into down back 3-4. So it can be tricky, but it's 4 more damage compared to her old staple, which is, you know, a big deal. So she gets another buff to her combo damage. Her mix-up tools are better than ever. She has a bunch of plus frame mids that she can constantly use. Down 1 puts her into a ridiculously good spot on top of being an absolutely disgusting counter hit launcher. She's looking good.